It is the second largest county in the country. Most of its land is arid and barren. Large tracts of land in Turkana County are characterized by shrubs, rocks and sand. The irony is that sometimes it rains, and when it does, it floods. But all the water goes to waste. But most of the times it never rains here. Locals say sometimes it rains only once a year. The dry weather has continued to put a strain on this county by making it food insecure year in, year out. Every year, thousands of locals depend on receiving food rations for their survival. This year was no different. This is Nakokula's village in Turkana East. We are greeted by a sea of people, mostly women and children. Some are sitting on the hot sand, others are standing, carrying and breastfeeding their young ones, while others are on the queue. Their faces are pale, they display anguish, despair, and others are just simply exhausted. Life has been harsh, hard and very unforgiving. The biggest dilemma mothers face here is where to find food for their little ones. Just one day ago, news reached Nakokula's village that a blanket supplementary and feeding program was going to be conducted, and they all converged here. This is an emergency program targeting the most vulnerable people in this community, and these are lactating mothers and children under 5 years old. For the organizers of this feeding program, this was just another day in the office, but for visitors like ourselves, this was an eye-opening venture. Those that we found loitering outside this police compound had come late. They were yet to be registered, while those that are inside the compound came as early as 5 in the morning. But first things first, the little children had to have their measurements taken, and this includes weight and height. For the volunteers, this is the most important part of the entire program. Children with less weight have to be given priority, but that also means that they are in a lot of danger. Malnutrition has single-handedly killed thousands of children in Turkana. After weighing, the children are required to have the size of their arms above the shoulder measured. This is to check for malnutrition.
It came at a point where we're responding to a community who have lost their source of livelihood. This is majorly a pastoral community, so now the drought came and took away their source of livelihood. So we came in to cushion them from the effects of the drought, which would have been high malnutrition rates, which would be deaths would have been reported. But so far, we actually can say we have no deaths reported due to malnutrition.
Luckily on this day, most of the children appear not to be in bad shape. Once permitted, the mothers walk to the next point to receive their registration cards, which indicate what amount of food their children will be getting today. As the morning progresses, the number increases. While they await the distribution to officially kick off, more women and children arrive. This grandmother has had to come here with her grandchild in order to ensure that she gets her ration. Hundreds of women are gathered here together with their young ones at a local police station in Nakokula's village in Turkana South in the county of Turkana. Now they're here for one thing: supplements. These supplements are very important. They are a combination of corn and soya that will be used to strengthen the bodies of these young ones who cannot find food easily here in Turkana. Their mothers also cannot provide them with enough or sufficient breast milk. This is a situation generally in Turkana, especially now when there is not enough food. This is obviously a program that is being undertaken by World Vision Kenya together with its partners. It is an exercise that will be carried out in many other parts of Turkana. And this is what they are all here for. These are sachets of corn soya blend that is nutritious and useful for children under the age of 5 years who have not had enough milk during their breastfeeding age, and their parents have been unable to get them sufficient food after weaning. This super cereal, as it is popularly known, has been the source of life for many children here, as well as the adults. When there is no food ration, this is what they use to help them survive another day. This meal is only required to be fed to children under 5 years old. But ironically, children who are older as well as parents in the household feed on it, an indication of just how severe food insecurity is in Turkana.
Blanket supplementary feeding is basically an emergency response project that came about around early this year due to the drought that hit the county this year. It was one of the worst droughts yet. So this is one program that came to cushion the most vulnerable in this community.
Mary Akale has come here with her 3 children. She has left 5 others at home. Only one has been enrolled in this program.
Naweza kuwasukuma tu. Kama ni kitu yenye unapembereza. Unajua ukipata kitu, huwezi kuweka yote tu siku hiyo. Unapembereza at least pengine Mungu atafungua njia nyingine. Unapembereza tu. Naweza pengine wiki moja.
Every child under 5 years of age is required to receive 4 sachets of the super cereal. But because Mary has 9 children, all of them will have a share of it. She is also the breadwinner in her family, but the money she gets paid after cleaning a local health facility is not enough to buy food or even enable her cultivate her land if she wanted to.
Nakuja pesa mzuri, lakini sasa hata si ile kitu unaweza kutegemea sana. Unaweza kufa tu njaa. Hata kama utadeni mpaka uchoke. Pengine kama uji kama hii inakuja inakusaidia tena wakati kidogo. Lakini bure ukiangojea hiyo pesa unaumia tu.
This program is being supervised by World Vision Kenya in conjunction with other partners such as World Food Program, the Government of Kenya, among others. It has been running monthly since the beginning of this year, and it is a reason no deaths have been reported in Turkana, despite there being a severe drought this year in this region. Children and mothers receive their share with a smile on their faces, and they quickly dash home to prepare a lunchtime meal. Despite the huge number of mothers and children, the BSF coordinator assures that everyone will receive their share this month.
Now each beneficiary gets it depends actually. So one beneficiary gets 4 sachets, each beneficiary. That's a young child? Yeah, it can be either a young child, a child under 5, or a pregnant and lactating mother. That's what we call a beneficiary. So now one beneficiary gets 4 sachets. So the number of sachets they get depends on the number of beneficiaries they have in that household. So for example, if we have a mother with 4 children under 5 and her herself she's lactating, then she'll get each child will get their 4 packets like that.
Soon we are off to the homesteads, and without any delay, some of the mothers we met earlier at the distribution center have already prepared the corn soya blend for their children. They seem to enjoy it a lot, but in most homesteads, those taking this meal are not the actual beneficiaries. In this homestead, a mother of 2 has already spared some of the meal for her husband. It is the only meal they will have for today.
Unajua sasa huwezi kula chakula wengine wabaki na hakuna chakula kingine yenye unategemea. Ile chakula inakuja mbele hata kama ni uji, si tunachamsha tunakunywa at least tupate hata kikombe moja.
So wote pamoja na mzee.
Si ndio watoto wote tule iko watu wote kwa boma kwa sababu hakuna chakula kingine yenye unaweza kusema ati wacha nitengeneze watu wengine wacha watoto wakunye. Kile imekuja mbele ndio tunatumia hiyo.
And after all the sachets are finished, they will wait for another distribution next month. At a local church in Lokichogio, the same exercise is being carried out. Mothers and women have come out in their big numbers to receive their corn soya ration for their young ones. For the better part of the morning, they have been waiting to get their clearance, and when the moment finally comes, many of them are usually exhausted. They only smile and get their energy renewed once they get hold of their sachets. Quickly, they head home to prepare a meal. Their lives depend on it after all. If you're a visitor in Turkana, such pictures will torment you and create in your mind a scenario that depicts desperation, despair, and sometimes even death. But it is not all gloom here. Turkana is truly a land full of contrasts. While many are starving in other regions of this county, some are tilling their land, preparing it for a new planting season. In Nanam village, a self-help group has turned up under the scorching sun to dig holes so that they can plant maize and sorghum. They have to prepare big holes for water retention when it rains. They have also chosen a flat piece of land so that if it rains, rainwater does not run down the furrows and gets wasted. The soil is dry, but locals are enthusiastic about the rains that are about to come. Their biggest concern is whether the amount of rain will be sufficient. A World Vision delegation led by the President, Richard Stern, from the United States of America tours the farm to see firsthand how challenging it is to prepare land for cultivation in this region. Their presence does not deter the women from digging.
So right now there's an urgent need in this region for food aid, for clean water, sanitation and hygiene, and for therapeutic feeding for children.
Before leaving, the delegation leaves behind its donation of food and oil. The food will come in handy if the soil does not yield any food. At another location near Kakuma, harvest time is near. This is a sorghum plantation that was planted 3 months ago. The sorghum stems are full of grain. This is a good harvest and the locals are elated. This crop was planted on a 5-acre piece of land. Once harvested, the locals will get slightly more than 5 bags of sorghum grain. They will not prepare it and eat. Instead, they will find a market for it, sell it, and use the proceeds to prepare more land for the next year's crop.
Naongea kwa ajili ya njia tu. Kwa maana sisi hakuna hapo pelekechi hapa hakuna mahali ya kusaidiana. Ndio sisi naongea kutengeneza mambo ya mashamba.
Many who visit this farm are almost always amazed because of the efforts of these community members who are resilient that such a food crop can be harvested in an area with such unpredictable weather conditions. This self-help group comprises of men and women, and their ambition is to pass the knowledge they have acquired to grow crops to other community members.
Maji tu peke yake ndio shida sana kuliko hizi mambo yote. Kama iko maji hapa kwa shamba hii, sisi akapata nafuu kidogo ya kusaidiana.
By mwezi wa pili mvua ilianza kunyesha, na hapo hivyo sasa ndio tukatega maji yale. Baada kuweka zile technology ambayo tumeweka hapa, tumeweka terraces hapa, tumeweka TBs hapa, tumeweka pia side pits katika shamba, na pia tukapalilia, tukaweka mimea iwe tayari. Na hizo TBs zikashika maji, ndio maji walianza kutumia mwezi wa pili. Na hiyo baada ya miezi 3 walifuna masaa ni ya kwanza, tukaendelea ku create more bands hizi ya TB, ndio maana unaona shamba sasa imesonga zaidi kama vile mwezi wa pili.
The only thing that is problematic at the moment are armyworms. They also want well-wishers to help them acquire farm equipment in order to ease cultivation and also encourage more locals to participate. A few meters from here, another group is growing kales. They're using sacks with soil and planting their crops vertically. As opposed to planting the crops on the ground, this method ensures water is utilized properly. The crop appears to be withered a little bit, but the locals say they have harvested several times and are happy about their initial results. Apart from kale, this group has also planted different variety of beans, which are doing very well. This crop will be ready for harvesting in a few weeks' time.
Kama napata kidogo na weka siku ya mpuka nakuja kilima.
Na ile
kidogo napata tu nakula karibu kwa mbe moja nusu nakula.
Nakula na familia na watoto.
Na familia na watoto na wajirani nini.
This community spends most part of the day weeding and taking care of their crops in order to be able to feed themselves and eliminate the risk of dying of starvation.
Maji ndio shida. Maji kwa maana msingine kama sina lima anakosa mvua. Hiyo matama na haribu kwa ndani ya mshanga kwa ajili ya maji. Kama iko firicha hapa kwa shamba, sisi akapata kitu yote. Hata kwa nyowe, kunde, sukuma, wakra, sisi napata. Lakini maji ndio shida.
It is difficult to comprehend just how difficult life must be for the people of Turkana. While many who come here for the first time see a community that relies heavily on relief food, one must also realize that the harsh weather conditions and poor and fertile soil on some parts of their land have combined to make this region food insecure. Nimrod Taabu, NTV, Turkana.